Just because you're running brand new equipment does not necessarily mean it is 100% perfect from the factory. We got a hydraulic oily mess right there. All right, guys, we have seed going in the ground with this Bourgualt drill. Air seeder, sorry, this is not a drill, this is an air seeder, so y'all guys don't get offended if I inadvertently change terms on you. Yes, we have a Bourgualt CD 872 air seeder behind us. Right now we've got about 50 acres under our belt. That's about how long it has taken me to get semi-comfortable with this beast behind me. And let me tell you, this is a beast. Going from our pull type box, mechanical driven John Deere 1560 drill, 20 foot wide, to this 30 foot Bourgualt 872 air seeder 30 foot wide has been about as different as going from a 6-row John Deere 7100 3-point hitch planter to one of John Deere's brand new high-speed planters. And let me tell you, this has been a very big learning curve, something completely different to get used to, multiple more things to monitor. You just don't set this thing down in the ground and go plant. It's not quite that simple. But a huge thanks to Bourgualt, who sent one of their team members down here yesterday, named Cody, who spent all day with me, helping me make sure I got this thing set up and fine-tuned, understanding all the different features and all the different operating parameters of it. Because I tell you what, if I had to, you know, read the owner's manual here to figure out how to do all this stuff, I'd been lost, and there's a good chance I might have just unhooked from this and hooked back up to my 1560 drill, because this is a very complex machine. There's a lot of different things going on with it, a lot of different things to set up and make sure it's working correctly. But let me tell you, when it is working correctly, this thing's a big pleasure to run. And make no mistake about it, this thing is putting the seed in the ground. And so far I've been blown away by the performance of those openers and seed boot design, of getting all the seed in the ground and all this tough corn residue. And here in a minute we'll get down and take a look at it. All right, the most important part of any planter, drill, or air seeder is it actually getting the seed in the ground. It don't matter what kind of section control you got, hydraulic downforce, you know, fancy electronic gadgets or anything on a planter. If it's not actually putting seed in the ground, none of that stuff really matters. So most important thing on this thing, let's see if it's getting seed in the ground. And look at this residue right here. We were making about 250 bushels of corn that was shelled about a week ago. You know, some of the residue has started decomposing a little bit, but there's a lot of tough corn stalks out here. BT corn, sprayed with a fungicide, still green when we cut. We got some of the hardest seeding conditions out here to try and get seed in, to cut through all these corn stalks and residue and corn cobs and fodder and actually get this seed in the ground. Now we're putting out 62 pounds per acre of a cover crop blend, you know, ranging from bigger seeds like your radish and your cereal rye and buckwheat to tiny seeds like rapeseed and clover. And we're all trying to sink them about an inch deep. Now we had this thing set in kind of some clean ground, set our depth and stuff, but let's see, let's look in this seed trench and all this stuff and see how well it's doing. All right, we'll kind of look here in a bare spot with not a lot of residue. You can still see we got cover crop residue from this previous spring. Of course, it ground right through there. And this is what the seed trench looks like after the packing wheel goes over it. You know, there's no open trench or anything. That packing wheel is doing a fantastic job of closing the seed trench. But it's not packing down too deep. I mean, look, that stuff still, it's firmed up, but it's still fairly loose, which is, that's what you want for good germination. Now, the way that disc opener is designed, that seed's going to kind of be tucked up under here just a little bit. And now this cover crop seed hadn't been treated or anything, so it can be kind of hard to see. And some of the stuff like your annual ryegrass, I'll dig right past it and won't even notice it. We're kind of looking for some clover seeds or cereal rice seeds. Those are going to be the easiest to see. All right, there's a cereal rice seed right there. And it's right there at an inch deep. Perfect placement. All right, there's another seed right there. Perfect placement. With about an inch of firm soil on the top of it. Now you're probably saying, well, heck, any old drill can do that. Bare ground, you know, probably even a conventional Teal 50-year-old drill, you could set the thing down and it'd do that. So let's look in some tougher spots. It's going to be a lot harder to find the seed, but let's see if it's actually in the ground. All right, let's get over here where you see got a lot more tough residue to cut through right here. And look like it, kind of hairpin that one, but all this other stuff pretty much did a good job of slicing through it. You can see we got a nice seed trench right there, about an inch deep. Man, this seed can be hard to see because it's basically the same color as the corn stover and not much difference from the color of the soil. Wish I had some treated wheat seed, that'd be a whole lot easier to find. All right, we're getting a seed trench like we should. Up there, right there we go. There's a clover seed or a radish seed right there. Perfect depths. So you can see it's doing a real good job. Now, when we're planting with the rows, it's kind of like we are on the end rows. I mean, if we got a row unit riding up on top of this right here, I mean, there's nothing is going to go through that. You're probably not going to get seed in the ground. I mean, you got your root balls there. I mean, this stuff is impossible to actually cut through. But you get right beside the row, just like we've seen, you know, we're getting seed in the ground and looking good. Now, what we've always done after we get done doing our inrows, with this drill, we're having to do 3 passes, 90 foot worth of inrows to give us enough room to turn around and for the lift master to work properly with this drill. But when we get the main part of the field, we won't go with the rows. We'll, like right here, we'll be going at an angle to the rows to where these disc openers and row units and everything, you know, you don't have one riding up on top of the row. They kind of go in between the corn stalks there, and we'll get a lot more consistent seed placement and depth. Like right here, where we got a row going this way right here, but we were planting that way. See, and we got a seed trench right through here. I know you probably can't see it, but there's a radish seed right there. Perfect placement right here on the row. So I know a lot of people got different theories and everything, but what we found is giving us the most consistent stand with this drill or any other drill we've run is where you can, you're in tough residue like this, go at an angle to the rows. It's just going to do a better job for us. Now later on this fall, once this stuff has had a chance to, you know, germinate and come up to a good stand where we can visually see it real good, we'll go around some of these fields where we had less residue and then especially heavy residue and see what kind of final stand we got. But right now, I'm pretty dang confident we're gonna be happy with the results. Just because you're running brand new equipment does not necessarily mean it is 100% perfect from the factory. We got about 50 acres under our belts, and we got a hydraulic oily mess right there. Luckily, I don't think anything's blown. I just think it was a loose hydraulic fitting from the factory, but waiting on the service truck to get over here so I can put some more oil in my hydraulic tractor because my tank got drained, and then we'll figure out exactly where this oil's coming from.
Well, that's how that day's going. We just had a change of plans right after I showing y'all how Matt was just running and looking good out there. Apparently, Kelly just called me and apparently he busted a couple hydraulic hoses on the drill. So I was making my way down and I got all the way to the worst crossing, which is Windy City Crossing. And I feel super disrespectful right now because they are having a funeral. That's kind of terrible. My condolences to whoever is having a funeral here. And to this guy that's really, I just want to go, I'm going to go super slow. This guy does not need to be in a hurry. This guy is on my tail. Just because he wants to be. But yeah, so we are headed back and we're going to meet up with Kelly at the Ferguson farm because Matt is on the back side of the farm right across the street, but the service truck that we're gonna need to take off all these hoses, the service truck is at the Ferguson farm. So I'm taking the sprayer and meeting Kelly over there. This person is still on my tail. There's two people behind me. I can see one of them. And when one of them is under my booms, basically. Let me go around this curve, but look at that. What a guy. What a guy. And in your mirror back here, there's no sign of him. You can see the second car back there. That's about where they need to stay. Well, this guy, there's a whole other car. Man, I wish I was in a hurry on Saturday. I just met a truck and a dump trailer coming around the curve, and this person on my tail just brake checked the person behind them. Don't think you're coming around me on a curve, man. People just crazy. I hope you recognize your car in this YouTube video if this makes the cut.
All right, green hydraulic lever down. Oh! Yeah, there she is, loose fitting. Yeah, just where I thought it might be loose. All right, let me pull up out of this oily spot and see if we can tighten her up. I'll take a loose hydraulic fitting over a blown hydraulic hose any day. Just wish you didn't have to drain my tank. I don't know if this was just loose from the factory or loosened itself up or what. This was a problem. Hopefully it's not an O-ring fitting in the O-ring is blown. All right, start the tractor up and do what you did before. All right, all the units are raised up and I don't see any oil leaking out up in there, so guess that's good. Just gotta completely refill the tractor up with hydraulic oil now.
Well, I guess that could have been worse. It definitely wasn't good. I mean, he just drained about $350 worth of hydraulic oil on the ground, but we didn't have to go get another $350 hydraulic hose to replace. It just loosened up and backed out, or something wore out, loosened up, and it just popped off. And it was the main hydraulic hose to feed all the jumper hoses that lift up and set down all the row units and stuff. So pretty important hose, but we got it all. He got it all tightened back up, and we brought him some hydraulic oil, and he's back rolling right now. So me and Kelly are headed out of the field, and we're gonna get back rolling too.
Come on, baby, come on. Climb. All right, we talked a little bit about the drill, and let's talk a little bit about the tractor. I know a lot of y'all, when you saw what was coming to their farm, said, you're gonna need a bigger tractor. The old New Holland T7.270, it's pulling it pretty dang good. Now right now we're in about the toughest pulling conditions that we can have. We're on this farm that we ripped, so the soil's real soft, real loose. The drill's wanting to sink down pretty good. The row units are pressing down pretty good. All the tires are pulling down pretty good. And you know, it's about as tough a condition as you're going to get. But for the most part, in our straight no-till ground, unless I'm climbing a pretty decent sized hill, I'm able to maintain 6 miles an hour without any problem. Now I wouldn't want to pull a 40-foot drill like this with this tractor. It just doesn't have the horsepower. But this tractor base engine horsepower is 235, I believe. It's got a power rise up to 270 horsepower, but I think the power rise only occurs when we're on the road going above a certain speed, or if we got the PTO on. Otherwise, it doesn't use that extra horsepower rise. So can this Bourgualt CD872 be pulled with a mid-size, a little bit smaller tractor? Yeah, it can, and it can be pulled effectively. Would it be nicer to have a bigger frame tractor, a little heavier tractor, a little bit more horsepower? Absolutely, but she's getting the job done. Now where this tractor is really lacking, just like I said in previous videos, is hydraulic requirements. Right now we're having to run this tractor almost wide open, about 2,000 RPM to get the hydraulic flow that we need. We're using 2 remotes. One is your active hydraulics going to the row units and the wings to give hydraulic weight transfer and downforce to the row units, plus you're picking up and lowering. And the second one is going to the fan that we're having to turn about 3,500 RPM. Now to get that fan around 3,500 RPM, we're having to run 53% flow on the one remote, and then about 47% flow on the second remote. And if I drop below 2,000 RPMs, my flow on remote number 1 going to my row units drops below what I've actually got it set at. We've got priority set on remote number 4 for our fans to make sure we maintain fan speed, because if our fan speed drops, we stand a chance of plugging the hoses and tubes with seed. Now I think we're also being kind of limited with a restriction on our remote connections. We just got them plugged up to our hydraulic remotes. We tried hooking a return up to the Power Beyond. They got a lot bigger fitting, hopefully try and ease some of that restriction, but for whatever reason our Power Beyond is not accepting return flow. I don't know why that is, and really don't have the time to investigate. But you know, we got 3/4 inch hydraulic lines going to the row unit hydraulics and the fan hydraulics, but we've got a smaller coupler, you know, going into our remotes. I know we're getting some restriction there, and with a little investigating, a little work, we could probably help alleviate that. But we got to get our cover crops planted. We got soybeans ready to cut, and I just don't have time to look into this and then order hydraulic parts and then wait on parts to show up. So we're making do like it is. However, when we get to wheat planting, hydraulic flow could definitely be a concern, because our fan speed is totally dependent on our ground speed and how many pounds per acre of seed that we're putting out. 3,500 RPM is sufficient for 62 pounds per acre of seed at 6 miles an hour. However, when we get to planting wheat at 150 pounds of seed, we're going to need more fan speed. I think probably somewhere around 4,500 RPM, and I don't exactly know how much hydraulic flow we're going to need for that. So we might have to sacrifice some ground speed planting wheat in order to be able to effectively run this drill with a tractor. But overall, I'm pleased with the old girl. You know, she wasn't built to run something like this, but she is doing it pretty effectively. I've only spun out once, and that was pulling this thing up a hill. We were running a lot more hydraulic downforce, and we were in rip ground. Got to top of the hill, and she just dug down. So other than that, she's done a great job, and we get on regular farm no-till ground. pulls it without any problem. And this tractor could probably pull this drill a little bit more effectively if we had more hydraulic flow and I was able to run the RPMs down in the torque curve a little bit better. I think this tractor produces maximum torque around that 15 to 1600 RPM if I was looking at the charts correct. So, you know, we've actually lost some engine power having to run it you know, almost wide open in order to get the hydraulic flow we need. Tell you what, a Fendt 9000 series hooked to this thing sure would be nice to run. All right, well, we put about 150 acres on this air seeder so far, and I really feel like I've gotten used to it. And so far, I love the drill itself. I like a lot of the features, but there are two features that I'm kind of having issues with. And I don't know if it's a problem we got settings in the monitor, a problem with the actual hardware on the drill, or, you know, potentially the tractor with hydraulic flow. But this drill's got two features on it called a Lift Master and Pack Master. A Lift Master is where when you're regularly planting and you've already got your boundaries and your headlands planted, you don't have to touch anything to raise the drill up and down whenever you turn around. It does it automatically when it detects that you've gone into area that's already been planting. Now theoretically, you know, I love that feature. It's one less thing I gotta do. Like right now, all I did is downshift and I'm steering. The seeder is up and I'm turning around. Watch this little light right here when it goes green. They just went green. That means my units are lowering, you know, automatically. Didn't have to touch anything, and I do like that. Now the Pack Master is kind of similar to a precision planting Delta Force or any other kind of automatic hydraulic downforce that you have on anything else. You know, where it can adjust the amount of down pressure needed to keep a specific number of pounds on your gauge wheel to make sure you have consistent depth, but that you're not over applying downforce. However, the problem with this air seeder is that it's got 48 units on there, but it's only got one load cell on one of the units. Now, while I don't think it's necessary to have a load cell on all 48 row units, I don't think that one load cell is enough. I mean, for one thing, you got three different sections. You got your center section, and then you got your both wings that, you know, you might have varying load levels on either one of them. Plus, if you look at this residue that we're planting into, it's extremely heavy. And if that one row unit with the load cell on it is, say, running in the middle of the row where there's less residue, or if it's running on top of the row where there's the most residue, it's going to give you inaccurate readings, but the rest of the drill is going to be controlled off that one load cell. And for that reason, I'm having to turn the Pack Master feature off and just run a consistent down pressure, because what I was noticing is that depending on where the load cell was located in the row, I was either getting, you know, too much downforce or not getting enough downforce on the row units that were over the top of the corn stalks. Now, once we start planting into say our cotton, when we're planting winter wheat or planting more cover crops behind soybeans, I expect that feature to work a lot better. But this you know, extreme residue, you know, 250 bushel corn residue is kind of playing havoc. But I do think if we had quite a few more load cells scattered across the drill, some on the rear ranks, some on the front ranks, wings, center section, whatnot, I think that would allow the Pack Master to operate a lot better. But one problem we're seeing with the Lift Master part is that the Lift Master is raising the units just fine. You know, as soon as I get to planted area, it's raising the units up real quick. However, and this is where I don't know if there's a problem with hydraulic flow on my tractor or whatnot, but the units are real slow to lower. And that doesn't make sense because you got gravity working for you, helping pull those units down. But even once they reach the ground, like I'm just now getting pressured on that single load cell. You know, I'm 50 feet away from my inroads before I start getting good down pressure on my row units, so I'm not really getting the seed into the ground real good for, say, the first 50 feet. You know, and to kind of compensate for that, I'm having to run more hydraulic down pressure than what I really need in order to try and force those units to get down hard against the ground a little quicker. It's going to be interesting to see, you know, here in a few weeks, we come out here and look at our stand and see how good of a stand we got where the drill was coming out of the inroads. But the reason I don't necessarily think that it's a problem with the hydraulic flow on the tractor is if I turn the Packmaster on, it operates a lot different. The units will go down, but they build up hydraulic pressure and against the load cell a lot quicker than if I'm just running just the straight hydraulic force. However, when I'm running the Packmaster, sometimes the row units don't even begin to lower until I'm right out of the edge of the coverage area. Because the downforce the row units go down act completely different depending on which mode I'm on here, makes me think that there's more of an issue either with the drill or with the settings on the monitor rather than hydraulic flow. Even though I know, you know, less than ideal hydraulic flow is not helping the matter. But you know, I've been on the phone with the people from Bourgualt, and of course it's Sunday afternoon. You know, we've been running this thing pretty much on the weekend. A lot of the people in the know won't be at work until tomorrow, so they give me a couple things to try. We're going to check the voltage on the Pack Force solenoid, make sure we're not getting any kind of back feeding of electrical signals. And I've already checked some other things and ruled some other things out, but you know, if it weren't for those two things, the operation of this drill would be absolutely fantastic. But there is one design feature that I'm not necessarily a fan of, and that's having a hydraulic cylinder on every single row opener that does all the picking up and all the lowering. I think there would be a better design if all of the row units were mounted firmly to a rock shaft, that the rock shaft pivoted to let the row units up and down just like John Deere. And that way you'd have to have one hydraulic cylinder per rock shaft to do that, which will require a lot less hydraulic flow. And then perhaps if you want to have some kind of downforce monitoring in place of the coil spring like John Deere's got, have your hydraulic cylinder there that, you know, all it did was provide downforce but wasn't responsible for raising and lowering the unit. Now, whether that would work good or not, you know, I don't know. That's just me thinking with the experience I've had with other equipment. And you know, I think with the tractor and the hydraulic flow that I'm running on this tractor, I think that would probably be a better design for my needs. But for the majority of people out there that's going to be interested in this type of air seeder, you know, it's probably not even a concern for them. Ooh-wee. And I done found another problem, and it ain't got nothing to do with the drill. Our AC is not performing very well. And it's not for a lack of freon, it's for a lack of airflow. It's getting a little toasty up in here. Yeah, I think our fan motor is not functioning properly. It's not getting that high speed that it needs. You certainly wouldn't expect October 1st for a hot cab to be the problem, but it's not normally 92 degrees on the first day of October around here. Here's one of the features that I find really neat. Now, because I cannot upload my field and farm hierarchy and all of my boundaries and everything, just because this monitor would not accept it, even though I formatted it in the correct structure that it called for the LiftMaster and Packmaster to work when you're turning around, you don't want it to see any of this area outside the field. Otherwise, it might think that you're heading over there and it might not make it work correctly. Now, you see I've made the first pass around the entire field, and I've made sure that there's no uncovered areas within this boundary. Now what I'll do now is I'll go up here and I'll draw a boundary around the entire field right there. And I know you can't tell if there's a thin black line around all of it. Now when I turn my ASC on, you see how all this turned a darker shade of gray but left all of this inside a lighter shade of gray? That means it won't, the monitor won't see anything outside within this boundary. So when I'm turning around, the monitor knows that I'm not going to be going to any of this area out here, and the LiftMaster will work correctly then.
Well, as you can see, I am not at the grain bin dump pit, and I'm not in the semi truck. I am in the Cadillac of the field. Now we are completely done with our corn harvest, and now we are burning down the corn stalks. We're spraying paraquats and Agrodex. We're going over the whole thing, and Matt is coming right in behind us. We're going to try and work opposite so we're not in the same field at all, and we might be one of the fields. But he's got this McCleary field planted. He tested out the new Bourgualt drill yesterday, and I believe they had a couple small problems, which you'll see it on his end, that's for sure. But I believe it's working pretty decent. Kelly was saying that it's definitely a learning curve and a little bit different, but it's gonna work out. While he's drilling and planting and testing the new planter, me and Kelly are out spraying. So change the contrast so you can make it colorful, and I believe we're facing the right way too. You can turn it around. That's how it was inverted, and that makes it a lot easier. I like to use it going down the road, so if my mirrors aren't all lined up like they're not right now, I can still see if you and your grandma are behind me riding my tail. We're gonna start unfolding here and turn our pump on and go spray, and hopefully everything works like it should. I just did a test lap around a little half-acre spot at the shop and turned the tips around. We're using our flat fan tips. Look where he had been drilling. I mean, you can see where he had the drill, but that looks wonderful. That looks fabulous. And there was no bush hog ran across here. This is all just corn stalks, and it just looks like, I mean, it looks like there was a bush hog ran across here. All right, enough talking. Let's get to spraying.
All right, we got done with this farm. We're going to fill up a seed before we go off to the next one. Says I got something like 1,700 pounds of seed left in here. This might be a little optimistic. All right, back up. Pull up. Oh. Whew, that's some dusty seed there. All right, got both tanks full, somewhere ballpark 135 bushels or so. Sun getting low in the sky. See if we can get moved to the next field and get started on it.
Well, I said we wouldn't be in the same field, which we're still not. I'm about to move to the furthest field away from him, but look at that drill and that New Holland and that T7 down there pulling away. Oh yeah, that thing looks mean coming at you. I can't even imagine the 120-foot one or 100-foot one that they've got. see if we can't see him turn around here. Swing that thing. Oh yeah. He's getting the fresh paint dirty. All that paint and primer that you could still smell. Smelled like it had been freshly put on there when they delivered the thing. He's getting it all dusty.
Oh, look at that harvest moon right over there coming up over the top of the horizon. That's a beautiful sight there. Almost a beautiful sight is this Bourgualt air seeder running tonight. We're about to call it a day. We got 1.42 acres left in this field, and I think I'm gonna go on home and get me a bite to eat. I'm starting to get hungry. The snack fairy hadn't visited me lately. All right, we're gonna try a little something on this drill today to hopefully alleviate some of my hydraulic flow issues. Thing is, we got 3/4 inch hydraulic lines running our fan and our remotes on there, which is plenty of flow. However, they're going to these 1/2 inch Pioneer fittings right here, and they did some research, and these Pioneer fittings are only rated for 12 gallons per minute. Now, we know we're getting a lot more than that through there, but I think these Pioneer fittings are creating a pretty big bottleneck right now. So went to my local Napa and did some outfitting and everything, and what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to take one of these 3/4 inch lines, take the tip off of it, make it go to a T, and use 2 remotes to supply 1 circuit. We're going to do this on both the pressure and the return. We're going to do it on our main openers, hydraulics and everything, and also on our fan hydraulics. And we really think the really big restriction is on the return side. All that oil having to come back out through there, all that massive flow is wanting to kind of push this ball closed right here. And if we split the 20 to 25 gallons per minute we need, if we split it between 2 different remotes on both the pressure and the return side, hopefully that will give us a little bit more flow and a little bit less work on the tractor hydraulics. We're still going to kind of be at a bottleneck because we got a 1/2 inch MPT fitting right there that's going on a 3/4 inch hose, but that should be the only bottleneck, and this should be a less of a bottleneck than having to go through these 1/2 inch Pioneer fittings right now. So we're going to get all this plumbed together and test her out. All right, now this is what it's going to look like right here. Obviously before I go to the field, I'm going to tidy this up, make sure I don't get hoses caught. We're just going to test it out first, and then also because I only got 4 remotes, whenever we have to fold up the air seeder and go to another field, we're going to have to unplug one of these supply lines and hook our wing fold back up to it. But that's going to be a small price to pay to make this thing perform a little bit better in the field. All right, before we were having to run our number 4 remote on 53% to get around 3,500 RPMs on our fan. So we're going to cut this in half to about 25%, and then our number 3, which is the other side of the flow, we're going to cut it back to 25%. Engage both of them and see what happens. All right, don't see any oil spraying out back there. Watch your fan RPM there slowly building up. All right, so we back these back off to 25% each, so 50% total flow, which is 3% less than before, and we're around 3,600. All right, let's put our drill down, see if they go down any better. I think it's improved the performance a little bit there. All right, let's time and see how long it takes to build pressure before it starts raising the drill up. All right, I'm about to press the button. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 6 seconds to let them all down and build down pressure. I'd say that's a little bit of a performance boost there, so we'll try and see what she does.